Welcome back to Sunrise. Well, now you know what they say, wife a wife, mate a mate. But what happens when the lines get a bit blurry, especially if you weren't officially tied down, you know? In this installment of the Dead Left series, we'll be looking at the role of spouses in estate administration. Administrator General and CEO of the Administrator General's Department, Stacey Ann Carty, is back with us to set the record straight.
Ooh.
Welcome back, Stacey. This topic, I feel like it's Royal Palm Estate.
Lovely little mix up in a Dennis.
But it is so important.
Yes.
First of all, I mean, to ask the obvious question, in law, what is a spouse?
Excellent question, Dennis. So we know, as you pointed to your ring, person who has a marriage certificate. That person will come, present it, you're the spouse, whether man or woman.
Right.
The intricacy comes up when you were not married, right? So the person comes to us and said, oh, Dennis and I were in a relationship, you know, he's the father of my 3 children. And we said 2 things. Oh, but TK already came with a marriage certificate.
Where you going, lady? Where you
correct,
going?
because you can only have one spouse.
Yeah.
Right.
So we have that happening not infrequently at the office, and that can have a lot of spin-offs, but spouse is only the married person, or if the person was unmarried.
So if...
Let me just say 1 second. If the person was unmarried, and you can prove that
how you prove
when
it?
the person died, 5 years before the person died, you were living together as man and wife, and both of you were single. Very important that both of you have to be single. So if the gentleman or woman was married but separated, person's gone foreign, whatever, you haven't seen them in ages, you're not single. So you can't then apply to be that person's spouse. You have to be single.
That spouse who was probably, let's say, overseas in this scenario, who hasn't even seen the person in years, is the rightful spouse based by the law, according to the law. Wow.
Again, I want us to drill down this concept of, because this is something, I mean, there is provision in law in Jamaica, you know, in terms of a common law spouse. But let us drill down the mechanics of living together as husband and wife. So you're not married formally, but you live together as husband and wife, as opposed to living together as what? Roommates, brother and sister? How do you establish that?
All right. So first of all, we don't do it. Let me tell everybody, it's not us. We're not the person doing it. It's the court. So you have to go to the court and you have to show the judge that your lives were so intertwined. You had maybe joint bank accounts. The person held you out, you went out together, everybody knows you as being together in a relationship. But let me tell you why I'm going to stress that the person must be single. It isn't infrequent that persons come and say, oh, but Dennis and I have been living together, and then the spouse also shows up, right?
People get transferred to work in other spaces, and they somehow, in these jobs that I will allow to remain nameless, that they sometimes have alternate families.
Right, so that is exactly what came to my mind in the profession that will remain nameless.
Right.
You are moved around from parish to parish, region to region, area to area, and we have found sometimes that each region the person moves to, they have a different family, and those families all believe that they are the only one, and the person is present and a part of the children's lives, taking them to school, having a relationship with the mother and so forth, but the law only accepts one spouse.
So what happens to the spouse, and I don't want to use the term because we stop using it, but what happens to the not legitimate spouse?
That person wouldn't benefit because you can only get a piece of the dead left pie if you can prove you're a spouse. Let me give you an example, a real life example of an estate that we administer. So the gentleman is married, however, they're both attempting to get a divorce, but they have children. So the way the law works, before you two can decide you don't want to live together and you want to get divorced, the law is going to say, let's focus on the children. How is the maintenance going to go? How is the custody? How is the guardianship, visitation? All of that has to be sorted out. So these 2 persons are in court arguing over how much money. TK is like, I need 100,000. Dennis is like, no, $50,000 back and forth, and the gentleman dies. So the baby mothers come and report it, and we find out, oh, but this gentleman was not divorced. So the person who you've been battling with in court over maintenance is actually the person who's going to get the lion's share of your dead left.
Wow.
So it's important, we're just going to pause to talk about estate planning. If you and someone are in a relationship, married, but you're acrimonious, you're not getting on together, trust me, make a will, because you're fighting over this pittance while you're alive, but they can move with at least half of everything you own when you die if you don't have a will. So it's very important. It can evoke a lot of emotions, because can you imagine if you were the person who was the baby mother living with this gentleman? You know he and his wife don't get on, you're seeking to get a divorce, and she's gone with half and you get zero.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things in respect to, or with regard to this aspect of dead left matters? If you could say top 3 things that we're asking people to do differently to make our life easier. If you could wave a magic legal dead left wand, what would those 3 things be that you would fix suddenly?
That's a difficult question. A lot of it is really a part of our culture. So we cannot fix people having multiple relationships and multiple families.
We should fix it.
I mean,
but stop it.
We can't fix it. It's just something that we have to deal with. So we have counselors who can sit down with you to explain, okay, we spoke about reporting a death last week, and we have 4 form of particulars with 4 completely different families stated on each of them.
Wow.
You're going to have to go to the court, so we direct them to a private attorney. As I said, we only go to court with them. We don't have a position on it. You have to go and present your own evidence as a spouse and convince a judge that you must get the order. So I can't tell you what the top 3 things are, but what I can say to the population, which is why we're here, know what the law is, know what your status is, and make the decision. Because oftentimes it's the shock of the information that leaves people kind of reeling to wonder
and at a
what
time
next.
that you're mourning and you're
Exactly.
going through the loss, and then now to find out that in addition to losing, you've gained some children you didn't know about and some wives you didn't know about.
Yes.
and you have 2 different funeral programs.
Dennis, it sounds like you've been to a few of those funerals, man. You know a few of those people, man.
I just know of a few matters. You know, 2 different funeral programs, 2 different set of remembrances, 2 different set of songs.
Yes. Yeah. And you will hear them say, well, from this side of the family, this is the remembrance. From that side of the family. So it's just a part of our cultural context, but I would just want everyone to know that the law provides for one spouse, whether it's a person that has a marriage certificate or it's a person that can prove to the judge that you were living as a single man and a single woman, as man and wife, for at least 5 years before the person died, and get that order from the court.
That's a good message to leave us with. I think that's a good message.
You look a little overwhelmed.
Stress out, gentlemen and ladies, because I'm sure there are ladies involved in this as well. But something tells me it's more these types, the male species, that has these issues. But you know, we're not going to go down that road.
All them a talk, girl, make them say, because you don't know. You and your man not left. Why?
Apparently you are not leaving, though, because you stay married and then have... Anyway, let's focus. Thanks so much. That was Stacey Ann Carty, Administrator General and CEO at the Administrator General's Department. Stay with us. Fluency Flex is up after the break. I can't imagine.